Good evening, YouTube. How are you? How are you guys who are going to hopefully eventually see this video, these videos that I make? I feel the need to cover my head tonight. Sometimes I remember some gang stalker, one of those gaslighters, asked if I was a painter or whatever. And well, we know better than that. Sometimes you have to cover your head and you will know when. Sometimes you have to fast and you'll know when. Sometimes you just feel the need to do certain things and you know when you're going to do them. It's just like an instinctual thing. So tonight's live is called La santísima muerte, which basically means the saint of death. And it's funny because whenever I go to like spiritual shops and I look at anything to do with her, they always say, oh my God, Spanish people love her. They always come here for her stuff and whatever. And I'll tell you, when I first, well, actually, to be honest with you, I never knew her as like a Spanish deity at all. That's not how I met her. She's been in my life my entire life. So I want to first start not even with the Bible verse that I have. First of all, let me back it up and say I'm so happy that I get to talk about what I am passionate about talking about. I am passionate about my spiritual journey, about my spiritual path. I'm very passionate about it. I regret deeply that this is the way that I've had to start talking about this with so much toxicity and negativity. If I could change anything in this world, that would be the first thing that I would change. Not even any mistakes I've made, but this. I have wanted to come here and do things my way. My way. My way is to come here and speak about this in a dignified way. My way is to get on here and talk about not so much the extenuating factors around the journey, but to talk about in a very graceful, elegant way. Because let me tell you, in my life, I have dealt with adversity, irritants, irritating energy. I mean, I have sat in stores and been gaslit and persecuted 12 hours a day, 365 days a year. Dealing with irritating energy is not the issue. This is something, even though the energy that I'm dealing with here is more, there are many factors to why this energy is like this. So I can't even, and I don't want to go into it. There are more factors as to why. I used to always stop shy of saying it's because it's so childish. That's what pisses me off. But we stagnate where we've been broken. We stagnate where we haven't healed. And so there's a stagnancy at a toddler level, and there's a reason for it, and it just is what it is. And I don't even want to go into it. I don't, it is what it is. But it has been horrible to start off this journey in that way. I wish, I used to say all the time, I wish that I had come into my full spiritual knowing at a time where it was peaceful. Other people have come in to know her fully of their own when it is peaceful. so they can speak about her and bask in her properly. I don't even want to get upset just thinking. I feel robbed. I feel robbed of something very beautiful. But anyways, we put it aside. I want to talk about who she is for people that do not know. So, where do I start? I could start so many places. I could start, let me try to do it chronologically. I had a childhood that was not, I don't have a single bad memory, but I have always been alone, if that has made any sense. And not in the sense of not having friends. Like, I grew up in an area where it was pretty close knit. I grew up in an area where people lived the same place in the same house for like generations. Like, people would just pass through generations living in the same house. So we all ended up being friends. It's like you just inherit friends. You just inherit, like, people that feel like family to you because you guys have lived the same place forever. And I remember just having best friends, having friendships, but always feeling isolated, if it makes any sense, but always feeling very comfortable in isolation. And literally always like talking to myself, if you will. And then I remember that always being normal. And I remember it wasn't ever an issue until like North America. North America was where people kind of like, they make it their own thing. They try to bully you into like, why aren't you lonely? Why don't you want friends? And I realized it's because it's a drug group that always wants to influence people's lives in my city. So they want to come around and they want to infiltrate your personal networks. And when you don't do that, they shame you. But I didn't realize it at the time. I thought it was just like a North American thing that people do that. But that's a tactic that they use because they want to create drug mules. And so I felt a lot of shame for a bit of being someone who naturally felt at peace in their own space. I would be around people and feel massively uncomfortable until I get home, and then it was like, I'm in my own space again. And I have spent my entire life not feeling 100% comfortable around anyone. If I feel maximum comfort with people is like 75-85%. It's not about them. They could contort themselves into anything that they want to be. They could be the most loving, the most nice. They can be the most generous. It's not about that. I just don't feel comfortable. So I don't feel 100% at home. Whatever it is that people feel with friends, I've never felt that. And I remember little things like having my kids and then my kids kind of like looking at the ceiling and like laughing as if like, and I remember there's particular times I got nervous because I'm like, my kid is playing with something that I can't see. It was almost like the feeling that I got was like some spirits tickling my kid or something's happening. Like I'm nervous, like this kid's sitting in the high chair or like the whatever, just looking at the ceiling, laughing. And it's like how the kid would behave if I were to be playing with, my child. So there was that. And then there's other times things have happened and I've literally sat up in bed late at night and I'm like, this doesn't make sense, what's just happened here. And then I'm thinking about it and something in me is feeling like it's a female energy. I don't know why. And something in me is feeling like it's the energy of death. And I also don't know why. But at that time, I'm not in my spiritual journey yet fully, so I have not a clue. Like, I'm just like, This is ridiculous. Let me go back to sleep. I'm imagining this. However, we talk ourselves out of everything. So I talk myself out of it. I go to bed. I just ignore all of this stuff. And I've told this story on here before. I went on vacation, and this is the first time, because anything death related is uncomfortable. I mean, for the average person, especially if you grew up Christian. So I went on vacation, and this is where I see, and I was in my spiritual journey at this time. I'm in a very zen place. I'm very accepting of others naturally. I am a person who doesn't discriminate against religions. I love every single religion. I feel like they all have something to say. I don't even 100% discriminate against people who do like dark magic. I feel like the things they do are disgusting. But when I see people that believe in things that I don't quite understand, I like to just sit and observe what it is that like, where is it coming from? What does it mean? What is it about? So I don't 100% just naturally discriminate. I literally, I kind of follow all religions, to be honest with you. I follow a lot of them. I don't, I don't cherry pick. I can't call myself any one denomination. So I remember going on vacation, and I saw all of this memorabilia to do with death, all the skulls, all of this stuff. We did a bunch of tours, and one of the tours was to visit a priest. And he talked about their traditions. He talked about the fact that they believe in worshiping their ancestors and their dead. There were all these graphs and these pictures. And I just sat there. I wasn't 100% into it, but I was like, okay, I guess. And I looked over the artifacts, but everything felt so normal. It didn't feel satanic. It didn't feel demonic. It didn't feel any of that. And I remember he said a prayer, and I'm very respectful again of religions. He said a prayer, and none of the other tourists gave a damn about like being respectful. And I remember closing my eyes and bowing my head and like nudging my kids to do the same. And then he said, if you guys I come out here and I pray for everybody. If you guys have any donations, like, we really appreciate it. And nobody donated anything, and I felt disgusted. So I ran, I broke US money, I came back, and he was shocked because it seemed like nobody ever donates anything. So I give him the donation, and he's first of all surprised. He's like, oh. And then he looked at me, and he just froze, and his like mouth fell open. And then I was like, I just want to thank you. And I might have bowed my head to him, I'm not sure. I said, I just want to thank you. I can't remember if I said, I just want to thank you for your prayer, or what I said. And I gave it to him, and his mouth fell open. And it was too long that he was like frozen, so it was awkward. And then I had to run back on the bus, so the bus wouldn't leave, obviously. And I remember, because we're sitting all the way at the back, and I get all the way to the back of the bus, and I'm looking, and he's still standing there with his mouth open looking at the bus. Like, he's still standing there. It was the strangest thing, to the point that I still remember it. You know when you have those strange things that you don't quite understand, but it just like, it's in your head. And then I get where I am. I had other strange things that have happened to me as well. I'm not gonna go into all of them. I get all the way to where I'm getting gang stalked. And the beginning of the gang stalking is happening, and we're at the very beginning of it. I can't remember how she came to me. I don't think it was a dream. I think it was like while I was awake. I remember her being in my bathroom at one point. I remember just going with it. I remember not stopping to ask myself, like, why? How comes? What is this? She was hooded, and the hood was very low over her face. But it's the energy. Spirits always carry energy. It's always their energy. Her energy is very strong. She has an energy that is more strong than other spirits that I've met. Her energy precedes her. She comes in love. Her energy is very strong. It's the energy of pure love. So you don't get a chance to question, is this good or bad, because you are overwhelmed. Now, I didn't know if this was my experience only. I remember watching a video somewhere and someone said, when the universe meets you, it is so overwhelming that you weep. Like you basically cry and you feel undeserving. And tell you the truth, that's how I felt. At the time that I met her, I always describe myself as a Disney princess because literally that is the closest thing that I could use to describe myself. Very unassuming about people. Like I see through people. Like I get they have an agenda. I get all of that, but I don't get too into it. I don't, you know, I let people do what they do over on this side. I try not to judge. I mind my business. I just go about my way. And so, not for nothing, I'll be very honest, as I always am, I really felt like I'm one of the best people that I've ever met. I know that. Pure-hearted. Don't wish anybody wrong. People take advantage of me. I turn the other cheek. Whatever it is, I've been through a lot with people. I've been through a lot in life in general and do not like conflict. So I think there was this thing where a lot of people said that they kind of talked about me like I was a people pleaser. And it wasn't that I was a people pleaser. I was very scared of my shadow, myself. Every single time in the past that I've gotten pissed off, like, or hurt, bad things have happened to people for hurting me. And it hasn't always been because I've wished it on them. Sometimes it just happens. But the times that I have gotten upset, I see fear in people's face. I don't know what they see, but I see fear in their face. And I know I don't want to take it too far because I have regret my anger from a very young age. So I've always just said, it is better to let little things slide than for me to regret how upset I got later. So I left it alone. And when gang stalking happened, I very much had mastered my patience. And I think they wanted to get me to that point where I was in the sweetest energy possible when this started because of the amount of patience that this would take. Because of how enduring I would have to be in order to walk through this. Because this will strip you of your humanity. I am shocked that I have taken 24 hours a day for this many days and I'm still calm. I don't think many people can do that. So I definitely feel like I was chosen to do this very specifically. I know that I was. If this meets you as a normal human being and a normal human being temperament, you will turn into a dragon in 3 months if you can last that long. You will turn into a fire-breathing dragon in 3 months, because it's not just because they try to be triggering. It's because the energies that are here are naturally in pain. The energies here are naturally childish and they're naturally low vibrational, even if they were not gang stalkers. They are naturally the human embodiment of unlikability. And I'm not saying that to insult them. I'm saying that because it's the truth. When we do not take time to groom ourselves, when we do not take time to see ourselves, when we do not take time to heal, we continue to thrive in an energy of, it becomes so horrible that it's like, it becomes literal, like the energy manifestation of being unlikable, like even on your best day when you try your hardest. So I can only imagine what it's like to live in that energy and constantly have to pretend to be something else, because if you're just yourself, you will repel people. And this energy is magnetizing to demonic energy just naturally. So in order to take on this journey, you need to start this journey from a Disney princess skipping in the forest energy in order for you to get through it, because it is not possible to do this as a normal person. It's not possible. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. It's not. These are energies that even if they didn't gang stalk you, if you had to be around them on a one-time weekly basis, you'd commit suicide before you get there, because you'd be like, I'd rather not live than be around it. I'm not saying that to insult. This is the fact. It's the truth. We must face it. It's the truth. If you're going through gang stalking, it is, let me tell you, I know other people that have dealt with this energy that have mentioned the same thing, that have literally said, I hate these people. And I get it. They make you hate them because it's like, it's not necessarily what they do. It's like what you feel when you're around them. It's like what you feel in their presence. Now, there are those who do the gaslighting. There are those who are irritating on purpose, but they do not have to deal with, or maybe they do. Maybe they do have to deal with that main energy, but it's that main energy that really is like, and I say all of this to say, when I got down to it and came to understanding, I realized there are two factors at play. In the gang stalking situation, there's the demon. The demon is actually not even as bad as like the energy that it's attached to. The demon itself is easier to deal with than the energy that it's attached to. I don't want to get too much off topic, but when I got here, I had to be in an unreasonably high vibration, a vibration that was unrealistic. Now, I understand if people thought that I was too good to be true or I wasn't real. I understand that. And the reason that I understand that is because that's how I had to be to tolerate people in my city. To get through a day, I had to develop strategies of like, these waking hours, I'm dealing with this. And then I'm shaking it off when I get home and I'm dealing with my family who don't deserve to have to deal with any of that. And then I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and just kind of compartmentalize every part of my life. And so I went through this gang stalking thing, and the bulk of going through it has been unrealistic calmness, a lot of praying, a lot of thanksgiving. And she came in right at that time. And I feel like the focus, there was many reasons obviously, but the focus that I took in that is just observing her, because her energy of love is so overwhelming that it can cover you while being at the craziest time of your life. So I don't know, let me just describe it, because I should describe it either way. When this gang stalking thing happens, they send you anxiety all day long. They send you feelings of anxiety all day long. Like, they breathe anxiety into your aura. They breathe, while they're breathing the anxiety, they also say self-defeating things. It's like thoughts that they project, even if you can't hear their voice. It's like, these are not your feelings, these are not your emotions. So you're being projected a lot of energy of like, my life is over, this feels like a horror movie, what on earth is happening, everything is upside down. But the reality is that people are just following you, being irritating. So I came to the conclusion very early that if I got rid of the feeling of anxiety, if I get through, sorry guys, I can't always respond, or I'm gonna lose my train of thought. If I get over the feelings of the anxiety, then it just looks like, imagine when you're having, when you're looking at something and it's like the music scratches and then it plays like the clown music instead. It only works well with the anxiety. So if you allow the anxiety and the fear to work, then you sit back and you're like, people look stupid. And then when you look at them, they know they look stupid, they feel stupid, and then they have a face where they're like, oh, I feel dumb. And so I started realizing that I knew there was spell work here early on, but I started realizing that the fear feeds it. So they need you to be fearful. So a lot of the things that happen are just about being afraid. People might sign you out of something, change a password, do this, do that, but it's just to make you feel afraid. It's not that they're actually doing anything, it's to make you feel afraid so that you can feel like your life is falling apart, and it's like this whole coordinated like attack on your life. So I'm going through all of this, and the thing that was most frightening, because most of it I didn't care about, but the thing that was frightening for me at the time is I'm like, they're trying to push me out of business. So I went to the police and I'm like, listen, these people are trying to push me out of business, I need your help. Wasn't taken seriously, as none of us ever are. And the only thing that got me through it, the only thing that took me through this walk was knowing that she was with me. And we all know God as a him. We all know God as a father energy. But I remember thinking, am I crazy? Why do I keep saying she? That doesn't make any sense. But I just knew it was a female energy. And I remember a day where I asked her, I said, well, can I see your face? Because she was always hooded. And she pulled it back and she hesitated at first. And she pulled it back and she does look like a skeleton. She looks like the Reaper. She really looks like that. But I wasn't afraid, shockingly, because I would usually shy away from that because I grew up Christian. But I wasn't afraid because of all the love that we had shared between each other up until that point. And I remember there was a certain point where she let me know, like, it's time for me to get closer to you, like I need to enter. And I thought to myself, I didn't think about it. I just I didn't get the hint at first. I was just having an unnaturally good day. And then when I finally got the hint, I was like, it's totally fine. If that's what we need to do. Crazy. Now that I think about it, I'm like, what? Why didn't you? But it was so organic. It was so natural. This story to me feels like when people tell stories about the fact that they met their husband and married him in like 5 days. And I'm like, are you a crackhead? That could have been a serial killer. Good for you that it still lasts. Like it went well, because it could have been horrible. It feels to me like that because I wasn't yet there. I wasn't in that place where I could be. It's not like I had people or friends who were like into that, or like it wasn't any of that. It was like a spirit just visited me and felt extremely familiar. And it just felt peaceful, and it has been bliss ever since. And let me tell you, if anybody here has ever met a long lost relative who's older than you, so maybe they knew you when you were a kid, that's how it feels like. It feels as if it's the familiarity that they talk to you with. It's the familiarity that they address you with. It's like you're nervous and you're like, but they're just like, it's like they've known you forever. It's so peaceful. And for me, I've had a tough relationship with my real mother. And that has made me appreciate this relationship even more. And I was thinking about it today and I was like, if I had a good relationship with my mother, I probably wouldn't appreciate this as much. But for me, this relationship has been everything, because and I thought to myself, yes, you can go through this with like a fathering energy. And let me tell you, the energy of fatherhood is also very beautiful. What they call a divine feminine or a divine masculine, which is basically the God-like feeling of masculine or feminine energy, like the actual energy of it, the essence of it. I have met these these energies in people, and I can tell you, so like with the fathering energy, it feels like concern. It feels like more concern with things like your safety, more concern with like defending you, looking right at you, paying attention to what you're saying, taking it in, being very compassionate, very caring, very concerned, taking care of you, giving you a warm hug. You just feel safe. And with the mother energy, it feels like just a quintessential mother. It feels like a TV mother. It feels like a mother who cries when you're hurt. It feels like a mother who wants you happy all the time, cares about everything, cares about things that other people are not going to notice, cares about the little things. Did you take care of this? Did you do this? Did you do that? Don't do this. She's so concerned about things that like the way I cook and like the thing, like just, I cannot explain. It is such a beautiful experience to have. And so the way she looks would naturally put people off because we have been indoctrinated in one way, but how she feels. If you want to YouTube her name and watch videos, people will talk about her. And then when they get to talking about her, they'll say, their voice will get very sentimental and soft and emotional. And they say, she's my best friend. I love her so much. And they describe her, and I'm just like, oh my God. And everybody who loves her is such a sweetheart naturally. It's like she just attracts the most loving, positive, amazing energies. She's just so... And every time I watch a video and somebody talks about her, I like always break down in tears and I cry. Because I'm like, I know what they're talking about, because that's her energy. So every time I used to come on here and talk about her and people used to fight me energetically, I used to wonder, I used to walk around wondering, why do people hate her so much? Why are they trying to stop her messages so much? What has happened here? How can... And I used to think in the beginning, I'm like, maybe they're jealous of her, maybe these other energies, like what is it? I went through so many reasons. You know, the Mexicans describe her as the fastest moving saint. And let me tell you the thing about spirituality. Spiritual things take time. There's no way around it. It takes time. When I started this journey, I had the same things on my chest as everybody else. These hard questions. These questions where you love God so much, but these are hard questions to answer and you don't understand how things are possible. If God is so good, how are all these horrible things so possible? And I have answers to these things that are not delusional, because I used to have to delude myself in the beginning to get through some of these questions. I used to have to feel like I was lying to myself just to make it through, but I got the real answers. God doesn't want to punish people. Let me explain this. The most evil person that you know in your life, the person that you want to hate the most, has a tragic story that would break your heart. And that is where their evil comes from. That's it. So where you're sitting there from your experience with them and you're like, God, I want them to not exist. I hate this person. Da, 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 da. If you knew their story, they call it there's, I think, what is it called? It's not the evil arc, but it's not the arch nemesis arc, but it's basically the story that made somebody evil. If you knew that person's story, I'm not saying that you'd be able to forgive everything, but I'm saying you'd understand. I'm not saying you'd agree, but I'm saying you'd understand. As hard as it is. The biggest blessing I've been given here is to understand the people who've hurt me, or at least one of them. Gets under my damn skin, I swear to God. Y'all have no idea. I've spent a lot of time not just holding in a lot of anger. But because I understand it's hard to hate, and I understand why God has so much patience with the situation, because I've just been like, oh my God, this, that, and the third. But I get it. It's hard to, it's hard 100% to see. And I don't know everybody else's story, but this particular story, everything made sense. But I instinctively felt a bunch of these things before. Like some of it, I was like, man, maybe I'm just imagining this. Maybe I'm just, but it's like I instinctively felt it the whole time. The childishness, the this, the that, the wanting attention, the being clingy, all of it. I get it. Let me tell you, I'm not saying this is for everybody, because some people just get involved in nonsense that they really shouldn't. But behind it, there is always something else. And sometimes your situation takes long because God doesn't want to like punish people in the way that you want to. They want to find a way to get around it. They want to find a way to bring healing to it. They want to find a way for it to be win-win. They want to find a way for people to learn a lesson, stop doing what they're doing, and for you to still, you know, have what you deserve. And God has been telling me for a long time, stop fighting, stop being upset, stop being angry. And I'd be sitting there like, are you kidding me? Look what I'm going through. But I can tell you guys, and I can't say this for everybody's situation, but I understand their compassion, and I understand things take as long as they do because of the way God wants to do it. It's just that simple. It's because of the way. It's not because God doesn't have the strength to just like squash people and be like, okay, we're squashing you and this. It's because of they want to reach people. They want to get people's attention. It's understandable. Sometimes, and I hate to say it, but it is understandable. It's the truth. So when they describe her as the fastest moving saint, it's because I've seen her move in real time. I pray now, I get it now. I pray today, I get it tomorrow. I pray for something next week, it happens next week. And it's not because she's picking and choosing, but it's because I really need it, and she sees that I need it, and she moves in that time. And sometimes I don't even realize, or I forget to pray, and she'll say, don't you need this? You should ask for it. This is the most loving energy, the most patient energy, the most kind energy, in my opinion, in existence. Even though she appears as the energy of death, which was something that confused me. I'm like, why does she appear like this? She should appear as the energy of love. She doesn't always appear in the dark cloak. She also has like an aspect of her that's all white. And that's the mothering aspect. That's might be my favorite one, to be honest. And this is the one where she feels your pain. She knows what you need. She knows when she is so observant. I mean, like when you pray, she just looks at you and she's just taking it all in. She reminds me a lot of myself. The way she gets things done is with such love. She never has to force you. She never has to push you. She never has to do any of that. You just want to do it for her, because I feel disappointed in myself all the time when I feel like I don't match her energy, and I forget how she wants us to be. But I also know she doesn't want me to be in that past energy anymore, because that's not safe. And that, you know, I've known from day one. She showed me like, you cannot stay in this energy. This is nowhere near safe. But she can manage to be in this loving, amazing energy and still be an energy that you have to have a lot of respect for, because you feel her boundaries. She doesn't say she has, you just feel it. And so I've always felt like, from the time I've met her, I've always felt like I gotta tell everybody that she exists. Spanish people, especially Mexicans, adore and revere her. They have like statues of her everywhere. Her symbolism is everywhere. They deal with a lot of crazy things in these countries. I'm telling you, gang stalking is regular in those kind of countries. That kind of behavior, bullying people in like a complete lack of empathy type of way, that is normal over there. So they really depend on her over there. And I just know that there's no other energy that can, I just always felt like gang stalking was something that was so sacred to her. Like, I used to call her the patron saint of gang stalking, because I just knew, and it's not because she's the only one. There's so many energies here helping with this fight, but it's just because of the unique nature of gang stalking persecution is that you feel so isolated. They go out of their way to make you feel like no one likes you, no one loves you, and you need her love to get through this. So I take it as my mission in life to tell people that this is who you want to go to. Now, I also pray to a father energy who we call Father God, okay? And throughout this whole thing, he's been like, hello, I'm here. Hello, I'm also helping. Hello, I also have a critical role. But it's like, I've known him my whole life, and I didn't know that she existed. How many people even knew that there was a counterpart, or even thought about there being a counterpart to the Father God? We haven't thought about that. We haven't been told that. We only know about the Father energy, God as a father, God as a man. And when they talk about Eve coming from Adam's rib, I'm going to tell you, I don't believe that story. It's not how it works. They give birth. You have to give birth. That's how it works. It's a male and female energy. Even the universe, they look at her. There's different ways of seeing her. There's also there's a goddess who looks like an earth goddess, and she's literally a goddess, and her womb is the globe, the earth. And like some of them refer to her as Gaia or whatever. And so the Father God is seen as the sun God Ra. In order for anything to grow, you need a seed, earth, but you also need the sun. So it's like the sun, I don't want to say fertilizes, but assists in the growth of anything. It's the two together. It's not one or the other. It's not just the mother energy. It's not just the father. It's the two together. And then us, we make the Trinity. That's the three. So 3 is a very symbolic number. And everything that has come to me on this journey has been things that I have just felt, or have been revealed to me, or I have just intuitively just kind of, I wouldn't say felt, but just known. And then after the fact, as I get confirmation outside, reading certain things, seeing certain things, reading books. Because I remember when I first met the Father energy, he appeared as a sun, and I was like, why is this a sun? What is going on here? And then I got into like Egyptian mythology, and I was like, oh my God, like this is a thing. People thought about this. I have continued to say, and I will continue to say for the rest of my life, that you cannot go through gang stalking alone. You cannot go through gang stalking just with the God of the Bible. All of it is true. When we look at Hinduism and we see Hindu gods, I've met them as well. I've met these spirits. They are also real. African deities, all of them. There's not just one. There's not just two. They're all there. They're all real. When they say God is a a jealous God in the Bible. Not really. They try to say like, well, false idols and God doesn't like you. Listen, I talk to other spirits all the time. They have no issue with that. They're not, it's not like, I don't put anybody else above them. These are like, my core energies that I work with. But all of it is true. All of it is true. And when they say things like, like a God will come to earth and birth themselves and all of it is true. All of it all makes sense in a very weird way. This is something you have to feel to experience. You have to feel it for yourself. This is not something that is like, this is not about other people. This is not about what other people think. In fact, I'm very respectful with other people's beliefs more and more. The Jesus thing was one of those things I used to say, like, it does not exist. Actually, I've changed my mind on it. Because there are times I would have doubts, like, does it exist? And then they're like, he's an angel. He's an archangel. He's a very high-ranking angel. Angels get sent here all the time to do these kind of things. To be people that are known. I think very well-known. I think Mother Teresa was definitely an angel. I just feel it. I think that there are people whose soul is very closely connected to God, and they come here and their whole life mission is to do work for God. These people are also the people that are very much persecuted. There are people here, and there's an energy here that does not believe that they were supposed to and are supposed to be working with and for God. That this is what they were sent for. And when you're supposed to be very strong in the spirit, these dark energies literally come so hard for you to block that work because they know how strong you are or how strong you're destined to be, and they don't want it to happen for you. And I can see that because I've gone through it. I have gone through this persecution of people just not wanting me to talk about God. I mean, of all the things they don't want me to do, talking about God is the number one thing that they lash out over. And then I get so far and I realize, oh my God, it's because the main energy here is the one whose attention they want. And this is the one that this entity does not want to be released. And it's like when you understand why, you're like, that's how they get people. They wound you so badly that it blocks your ability to love. It blocks your human compassion. There is so much pain. It feels insurmountable. And it's like, as mad as I want to get, and listen, let me tell you something. Controlling the irritation has been like out of this world. These people as a group are irritating. Irritating is a very mild word for what these people are. I swear to God. But when you step back in a moment of peace and you look at the situation, you're like, I can see why. I've had times in my life where, or not in my life, but in this experience where I'm getting ready to come on camera and give a message. And the message is like, listen, we gotta stop fighting. We need peace, etc., etc. And literally, and you guys gotta go with me here. It's easy. These conversations are easier when people already believe in spirit, so they'll know. But this energy is a childish energy. This energy, this little demon thing here, it's a childish energy. That's how it manifests. It manifests like a little demon. It looks like a black version of Casper. It looks like a Pokemon. And it will get mad. It will get so mad it comes by itself. So there's multiple ways that people can attack you. People can show up themselves, project into your energy themselves, or they can send an energy. This energy comes by itself independently, and it will fight me. And it sounds like a little bee almost, like it's trying to like it's an energy. I'm a human being, so it's not like I can put hands and actually, but it gets so mad, it gets so irritated, and it is the energy of obsession. That is how I see how he behaves. So I realize that his behavior is the entity's behavior. It's just you align with the energy that you're in. And so it'll try to fight me and sounds like a bee. And one time I remember it shed a tear because it realizes, it knows that my mission here is to wake this person up. And because of that, it fights so hard. And I mean, it will hop from person to person and put roadblocks in this person's way. And as much as I might feel like I have roadblocks in my way, I'm like, no, this person has roadblocks in their way. And every time you reach this person for 5 seconds, it puts this person back in that devil energy. And you can never really go through it for too long. And it's demotivating, it's sad, it's horrible. There's just so much going on in this situation. You guys have no idea. Healing is a battle, but when you're healing wounds that are as old as you are almost, it's insurmountable. Sometimes it feels. And this energy just doesn't want to let go. And so if I were to ever come and try to like be very peaceful and be like, listen, like we have to, it will fight me. It will come in this space and fight me. I'm not even, I just wish people could see or understand. It will fight me and I have to like swat it off and just like get ready and like put on my relaxing music and get my camera and get everything together, because it gets so upset because maybe it's been with him for long enough and it doesn't want to let go. And especially when it gets you to that self-destructive place where it's going to take you down. When it gets you to that self-destructive place where it's going to claw you down, that is the place where it is desperate that it wants to keep you, because it wants to take you with it. And in this thing, we have to fight the part of ourselves that looks at things kind of like a human being, like for what you see. And then there's God's perspective, looking at things from a higher perspective, which is, I'm gonna admit, it's tough. If you don't have the information necessary to like make a decision, you're definitely gonna think like just face value. I remember being young and watching like superhero stories, and it's like everybody hates the villain, right? But then when you see what happened to the villain, you're like, oh my God, like every villain has that story of why they became like that. And I want to tell you, it takes a loving mother energy to be able to see and love someone. I hate the fake followers that come with this thing. I have to do this, and it's like, I don't know. I don't even remember how to do this thing anymore. Well, let me see. Let me see. I know there's a way of doing this. Okay. That's horrible. This whole thing is horrible. What we have to go through. This is such an important message. And instead, these people paint all of these illusions around the channel. They hire people that pretend to be supportive and pretend to be supporters of the channel. And the message is not reaching the people that need it. They don't want people to wake up. And it's like, you gotta have extreme trust and extreme commitment that God is gonna come through and things are gonna come full circle, and that you're gonna be effective in the job that you're meant to do. As they have their time to do this kind of stuff, it's like, I would not put it past one person to be on 5 different accounts making fake comments and putting fake likes from fake pages and all this. It's just like, it's so sad. And sometimes I definitely get impatient with God, and I'm just like, do something. This is horrible. These are your messages. Everybody that talks about her, everybody that talks about her gets unreasonably persecuted. They like when you talk about Jesus, because let me tell you something. I think prayers to Jesus are going to God's inbox. If they went to Jesus's inbox, I don't know how this would work. I'm fighting saying they're ineffective. But I think they go to God's inbox and God answers those prayers. They like when you talk, witches love when you talk about Jesus, because they think it's a joke. They know that it doesn't affect them. But they know when you pray to these energies, when you pray to, you know, when you pray to our Holy Mother, when you pray to Father, that things happen, that things move, that they're very real. They know that. And so because they know how other people are going to perceive the situation, they call demonic energy their gods, but they will call, it's easy to get people to think that her energy is the energy of a demon because of how she appears. Our ancient religions and our ancient beliefs have our gods, not, a lot of them not even looking human. Like the god of the sun is the sun god. He appears as the sun, the embodiment of the sun, like literally a sun with a face. But that is more acceptable and easier to digest because it's in the sky, it's bright, than her, what she looks like. And so it really is important sometimes, not just the message, but the messenger. And so one of the things about when you're a messenger of this kind of message is that they antagonize you and abuse you so bad because they want you to look like the lowest version of yourself. If I had to tell people, and I've spent a lot of time on here telling people how horrible it's been for me. If I had to tell people the kind of crap that I deal with on a daily basis, the kind of childish, stupid nonsense that just irritates the living life out of me, people would understand. People would even be like, girl, if I were you, I would be like swearing and flaring up every day. It is a task not to. It is a task not to. But I also have to think about the fact that I represent my messages here are meant to represent God. And people will irritate you so badly that they want you to talk about them and what happened that day. And so they go out of their way. They want to know your schedule, like, oh, you're coming online at this time. Well, let me do some really awful things to this person. These people have taken my nudes and splattered it. Like, they've done horrible things to me. I'm telling you, it's bad. It's horrible. There's like revenge porn crimes here. Like, it's really, 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 really bad. All the things that have happened to me in 2 years. So it's like sometimes I go in the spirit, and when they're like, well, you gotta be more calm, I'm like, you guys gotta be more understanding. I have been persecuted. I am being persecuted. This is horrible stuff. Please, the way you give understanding to the beast, give me that understand. I know they understand me. I know they see it. I know they are frustrated by the things that frustrate me. I know that they are just like, oh my God. I have just been like, oh my God, if it was not for God, I can't tell you guys. I cannot tell you. We endure a lot. I feel like my name is Jesus Christ, to tell you the damn truth. I feel like for everything that these people have put me through, my name is Jesus Christ. The entire city knows it. There are people who couldn't even make eye contact with me. There are people who would look at me and like, I felt like they had to look away to not cry. That's how crazy these people were being with me. Where it was like, if normal people had a gang stalking journey, it's like the gang stalkers were like, we're kind of going crazy on this person. Many times, not just one or two people, many people. This is a situation where you have to be delusional to get through it. You gotta lie to you gotta say stuff to yourself. You gotta just be like, you gotta find a way every day. It's tiring, and all God wants is that you don't give up. Don't give up on your journey. Don't give up on your fight. And I'm just like, move faster. Move faster. 2 years is a long time. I understand, but you're making me sacrifice myself at the expense of others. You know, at my expense, we're dragging our feet. That's the honest truth. That's how I feel. I feel like a lot of us feel that way. We just don't say it. We're just like, wait a minute. There should be a limit. There are things that God has to tell you. They don't know how to tell you because it's so bad. There are things I know that they haven't told me because it's so bad. And if they tell you, it's going to be hard to do your job. It's going to be next to impossible to do what you're here to do. I don't know if people doing this gang stalking know what they're really a part of. The things that happen to people here are so inhumane, are so unhuman. These people deserve death in the most violent, crucifixional way. This is persecuting human beings at the worst level that you can. I'm telling you, they sit there in groups and they think, what can we do to destroy this person's, not just your life, your humanity, what makes you human. That's what they want to destroy. The thing that makes you human. And they always know how it feels when it's their turn. But it's like, wait a minute, you do this for a living. You've done this for years. What do you mean? You should just be like, hey, this is what I deserve. This is not a cut and dry situation here at all. A lot of us going through this have sat back and have said, we have questions of God. I remember somebody said that we have questions of God about people, like, how are people like this? And I can tell you, I heard it and I was like, yes, I too have questions. I've heard preachers preach and they say God is light on details. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're very light on details. They don't tell you the full story. If they told you the full story, you'd be like, hey, listen, you got to give this inheritance to somebody else. They're hungry for it. Let them have it. Because when we talk about spiritual inheritance, they don't tell you what comes with it. It's very important to think about the whole story. Because there are people here who took spiritual contracts. They took the inheritance, but they don't want the work. They don't want the journey. The journey, boy. This is where you earn it. And they say, to whom much is given, much is expected. And refusing that contract will destroy your life fully. It will. People will find it out. You gotta walk your path. It's like what you came here for. I still cannot say 100% if it's because people stole these spiritual contracts that they have to do it, or if it's because they came here for this. But this requires healing, and the healing is not a one-time healing. I'm telling you, you gotta constantly purge your emotions, your feelings, heal, come back, purge, heal, come back. It is a Christ walk. You are walking. So to me, it's like I almost can look at the story of Jesus Christ as like a metaphor for a constant if you really read the Bible and you read those words in red that Jesus was irritated night and day. You cannot tell. Every time Jesus answered somebody a question, it was like, look, I feel it because I've lived it so long. It's the feeling of being an inch away from blowing up but never blowing up. Never letting yourself get there, but always just being right there, because it's like all day, every day. And they talk about in the Bible Jesus having to cast out demons and doing all these things. So when you work with demonic energy, you have to do constant healing work because you're too close to this kind of energy, like you're in proximity from it. And you got to be careful not to let it seep into you. You got to be careful not to get too close to it, because it will try to infect you. We're talking, demonic energy is crazy, eh? Demonic energy is somebody literally, man, y'all don't know. When people are possessed, you guys don't know. You guys don't know what it feels like. When people are possessed and God is trying to punish them or get their attention or whatever it is, their leg will be broken, still broken, and they will still do the same thing that God is telling them not to do. This work is not, this is serious work. Me as a person in a human vessel, I'm telling you, I don't know that I have hope for rehabilitation of this situation. I'm not telling you I don't know. I don't have hope for it. This is something God has to have the hope. God has to see it through to the end. Only God knows how to do these things. That's why we stand in place. I've become humble. I've stepped aside. I literally have to go in the spirit and be like, you're telling me nothing is gonna work, and they're like, no, don't worry, just, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? The same day that God is getting, I'm telling you, this is people, I don't know what to say. Those of us on these missions, we pray for relief. We pray for the day that it's done. We pray for peace. I've never seen no nonsense like this in my life. I need a long break. They need to give me like 25 years to heal from this, because this is nuts. Never seen anything crazy like this in my life. This is not just gang stalking. We're past gang stalking. We're talking about dealing with the energy here. It's crazy. You cannot go through this alone. The people that are orchestrating your gang stalking are carrying dark energy. And don't think about it just like they're carrying emotions or trauma. That too. The trauma, the emotions, the hurt, the whatever, that's what the energy the demon attaches to. That's the hook that is so strong. Because it's like a turnkey. Every time somebody might want to release or believe or go in a certain direction or hope in something or believe in something, it uses that thing and it just makes them remember again, remember again, remember again. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is horrible. And then these energies turn around and put other people through such a hard time that it's hard for the person who's fighting for them to even be able to remain locked in. Simply because it's like, oh my goodness, but there's entities here. And people don't want to believe that. They keep talking about it's the military. They talk about it's the weapons of this, and no, it's friggin' demonic energy. I'm not saying that they might not have put together military weapons or whatever, you know, I'm not saying no, but I'm telling you, this is demonic energy. This is devil energy. And if you guys were to be, I don't know if to say lucky or not, but maybe lucky to understand what it is, in order to deal with demonic energy, you need good energy. You need God. You need angelic energy. You need positive energy. This is a fight. This is a spiritual battle. This is what it's a spiritual battle. It's a hard thing. It's impossible. It's not a hard, it's impossible to deal with it on your own. You need God to intervene. There's no other way to say it. I used to try to go around it in the beginning, find another way to, no, there's no other way to tell you guys the truth. And the truth is that this is actually God. God is both masculine and feminine, but they're not the same split or anything. Like, they're two separate entities, two separate energies, and they work together. It's a coordinated effort to help us. And when you're going through this, you cannot be dealing with a God that is distant only, or you can't just be dealing with just with father energy. You need somebody on the ground with you to help you through. You need an energy that is going to warn you about things, but an energy that's going to be balanced. Not just warning you about things and saying, well, this and that and the third, but they got to be balanced. They have to say, well, I know you're upset, but let's look at it from their perspective. And luckily, they never said, let's look at it from their perspective, because I'd be like, absolutely not. I got to go to sleep. Good night. I would not have been open. But just showing me. Just showing me. It is Very difficult. The situation is very horrible. And God's playing mediator and trying. Because one thing I'll tell you, as much as she is the saint of death, she does not just take people out of here. She does not just do that. Is not how this works. That's the first thing that you got to come to terms. Like, you're not going to start praying to her and just praying like, oh, kill this person, kill. No. Everybody has a certain time that they have to go, and they honor that. So if somebody goes at a certain time, they were meant to go at that time for whatever reason. We don't know people's paths and what they're here for, what they're meant to teach other people, or like, we don't know. But you don't just because she's called the saint of death. I think even saying that in a way, it's almost misleading. Really, the death energy is about endings. It's not really about like physical death so much as it is endings. This is an energy that comes to put an end to things, and most importantly, cycles. So when you look at the tarot deck, death comes at a point where the cycle is done. It puts an end to it, and then a new chapter can open. So this is what she's here for. She's here to usher you to the new chapter. And then when we look at it in a spiritual aspect, she can also live in the underworld, and she also has a very strong presence there, because we all have to pass away first and go serve our judgment, and then we can make it to heaven. And so she facilitates that process of people passing away. That's what death is. It's the transition of somebody passing away and escorting the soul to wherever it is that the soul has to be. This is how you should look at death. You can have a death put to your life while you're alive, and you're going nowhere. You're going to be alive to be an old person, but they're going to put a death to everything that is in your life. We can, as much as we think we can fight things, as much as we think there's a loophole, we are just human beings. We cannot control fate or the energies. We cannot. It is such a futile fight. It is so, I don't want to use the word ridiculous, but it's so hopeless that it's just like, it's sad to watch people fight it. Because we can't. Whatever your path is going to be. If it's your time to go, it's your time to go. If you're going to stay here, you're going to stay here. But they will put an end to everything. Death, the energy of death is here to put an end to everything that cannot go through, that cannot keep going. I relent. Every day I become more and more malleable, because every day it becomes, and I'm not saying because of my situation, because I just watch everybody else. Thankfully, I don't have to be the one on the receiving end. I just watch everybody else's situation. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to try that. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I'm not going to be disrespectful. Yeah, I'm not. Because I just see that it's so pointless, because when you're watching it from the outside, and when you get kind of almost like a bird's eye view, where you get to see things from God's perspective, when they explain things to you, you just stand back and you're like, you get exhausted watching it. And you're like, oh my gosh. And they're so patient, unreasonably patient, that you're just like, oh my goodness. If God was like us, there would be like 3 people on the earth. Because my God, do human beings not listen, not care, not everything. Thank God. They are unreasonably patient. Like, they really put up with stuff that I'm just like, oh my, I couldn't do it. I have to turn away some days. Some days I'm just like, let me mind my business. I think sometimes it shouldn't take as much as it takes to get our attention. I'm not in anybody else's situation where I can't sit there and say, well, I'm in your shoes and you should this and you should that. I don't want it to come off that way, because I have always acknowledged that people in this energy made bad decisions and they're stuck. But I just want to say, we are all in a bad situation. We are all in grueling situations. We're all in situations where we are being more than tested. We are all in situations where we are, I don't know about you guys, I don't bother going in the spirit harassing them like when. I'm just like, listen, you guys do what you guys gotta do. I'm gonna be patient. I'm gonna at least give you guys my patience. Because I know it's hard. It's hard for them to listen to that as well. Because they feel your emotions. When you carry an energy, they feel your emotions, you feel theirs. So like they don't, sometimes I'm like, they're doing so much, I don't want to put them through that. But it is a situation where you could easily keep asking like, when can I be released from this job? When? But I also understand, you know, at least from where I'm standing, now that my true purpose of being here, I know it, that it is important. It's very important. Everybody here is suffering. When you peel back the layers of gang stalking, every layer that you peel back, you just like shake your head like, what the hell is going on here? Every layer that you peel back is just like crazier and crazier and crazier. Everybody here is a victim. That is the bottom line. Everybody here has pain points and struggles and hurts and everything else. Everybody here has a story. Take that with you. I'm not gonna say that it's gonna make it better. I'm not gonna say it's gonna make it easier. Has it always made it easier for me? Not really. Because when you're suffering, you're suffering. When you're being attacked, you're being attacked. When you're going through stagnation, when you're going through just people fighting you every single day, yeah, you're going through that. It's not gonna make it easier. But just at least hold on to that so you don't think you're the only one. It's been so beneficial to me to see other people that are going through this kind of fight and seeing that they also are fighting frustration as well. And just to be like, yeah, it's not just me, because I feel like a failure every time. I miss being in, you know, my old energy. I do, but it was the South Node. I can't be there anymore. I miss it because it feels so good to be happy every day, to be in peace every day. Peace that brings you a natural calm. But it's like every time I would try to fall into it, they're like, don't be tempted. Please don't do this. No, we woke you up for a reason. But I miss it. I do. But just know, I mean, people who are being gang stalked who come online, you know that a lot of people are dealing with this as well. It's a very frustrating thing. Just know that the gang stalkers, the gaslighters, the people who come and they make the comments, everybody is dealing with the same scary situation. I see people harass people that are just doing their jobs in helping me. Like, I'm not saying they're going out of their way. I'm saying like, if there's a cashier that has to cash things out, it's like they'll attack the cashier for cashing my stuff out. I'm using this as a metaphor. They're not doing anything special. They're just doing their job. And I've seen those people begin to be gang stalked and harassed. And I'm just like, Lord, hear my prayers, because, you know, and it's like God wants to get through to us, all of us, not just the people doing the gang stalking, not just the practitioners who are doing this horrible, disgusting, filthy work. This is filthy work. These people are in delusion to not look at themselves, to not face what they are, because God forbid they ever look at the things that they do and actually admit to themselves, like, we kill people. We make people sick. We take people's lives. We take people's pets. All of these things. We make people homeless. We take away people's money and their ability to earn a living. We do these horrible, ghastly things. If they were to really look at it, it would be probably traumatic for them to see themselves in that light. Like, to actually, if they were unmasked publicly and the public looked at them, I think that's what it would take for people to really see. Because there's no way of, but they do try to look at it like, oh no, I'm not like that. Oh no, it's everybody else. Oh no, it's everybody's fault. Oh, and God is trying to teach people a lesson here and say, look, We gotta show you yourself. We gotta show you what it's felt to be, what it's felt like to be under your thumb. We gotta show you the horrible pain. You think you know pain? Let me tell you something. Things that people don't think about: losing a pet. Losing a pet is like losing a child. I'm telling you, I lost a pet. Haven't gotten over it. This happened like a long time ago, a very, very long time ago. Cannot get over it. Will never get over it. So you just imagine losing a family member. When I was early in my gang stalking and someone was following me, he said to me, my sister, he called me his sister, and he said, I lost my sister and I didn't get it at the time. I'm like, what do you mean you lost your sister? What does that have to do with following me? He said, but I lost my sister. When they come for you, they start dropping people in your life like flies. So you think that you're the next one. So people in your life just start passing away. Now you're scared because you're going to be the next one, and they definitely intend for you to be the next one. You're going to be the next one, and they have to take, however they got to take people out, so you fall into submission whether you want to or not. This is how people have lived under the thumb of these people. I'm telling you, some of the scariest things. When he said to me, but they took my sister, you know how long it took me to understand what that meant? I'm like, oh my goodness. Sometimes my prayers are long because I gotta go into spirit and ask, give thanks. When I tell you something, a lot of the prayers are gonna be heavier on thanks. Well, they're going to be heavier on Thanksgiving than anything else, because when you truly start thinking about all the things you got to be thankful for, my gosh, you start worrying about people's life, if people are going to wake up the next day that you love. Yeah, that'll take some years off of you for sure. That'll be a tough one. The only way to get through to some people, I think most of us, is with karma. Karma is just the experience of yourself, meeting yourself. You gotta meet something just as terrible as you are. It's the only way. Anything short of that, you won't learn the lesson. You gotta meet like how you do things. Are you hostile? You gotta meet hostility. Are you an envious person who would go, yeah, you gotta meet some of these energies that are like you. And then you're gonna say, oh my goodness, is this what I have done to other? Yeah. Is this how it feels to be like round the clock scared? Yeah. To lose something that is the most important to you? Yeah. The only way for God to rehabilitate people is to make them experience themselves. Is my life cursed? Yes. That you have to wonder, is my life cursed? Is this yeah, because that's what you've done to other people. It doesn't feel good. Are people out to like, yeah. Does everybody hate me? Yeah. These are the kind of things that have to happen. So don't think of it so much all the time as a punishment, but start to think of it as, I gotta learn this lesson. I gotta go through this. When we think that God doesn't have a plan, God already knows. Listen, the universe is the oldest thing in the world. Why do we worry? You think these are the first people that they've dealt with? You think these are the most stubborn people? You think these are the most evil people? God says to me, there's worse out there. I just want you to know. In the middle of it, I'm like, what? There's way worse. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what kind of earth are we on? What kind of place are we living in? Do not think that God does not have a way for you out. Spirit knows how to get us, because Spirit knows. They would love to be honest with us, just open the book and tell you. But if they actually read this to you, By the time they get to the third line, you would be trembling. By the time they got to the bottom of the page, you'd already have disappeared, because you'd be like, there is no way. No, there's no way that I can't do this one. They have to walk you through, but what they do is they use everything for a purpose. They will train you spiritually in one way. They will use the situation to show you different things. God could come and tell me something, they show me. You know, when I deal with my mother, she'll say something to me, and I'll give her an excuse. I'm still mad. I'm not mad at her, but I'm mad at the situation. A day or two later, my kid does the same thing to me. I say the same exact words she said, and then my kid gives me the same excuse, and I stand there and I'm like, touche. Wow. Got it. I'm never going to say that again. One thing I can tell you, the way God works is God's like, I could tell you, but you would get it if I show you. And so it's always been repeated. Words don't teach, experiences teach. People have to experience things. We have to experience things. I used to be so, not judgmental because I wanted to be, but because my life experiences were so limited. I was so sheltered. So I could easily judge people and say, well, a lot of us are like this. If you live a very straight and narrow life, you'd look at people who like were drug mules, or you'd look at people who lived a certain life and you'd be like, well, you this and you're that and you're that. And then throughout the journey, you're like, oh my goodness, this is what happened that caused somebody to go this way. This is what happened that caused this. And it's like a slow thing where you're just like, you get to the point and you end up defending the same people that you used to point the finger at. And like I said, it used to take me, it was such a long journey for me to get to the point where that man's words rang true when he said, but my sister died. So he's probably thinking somebody in my family died too. So he's trying to say to me, listen, this is the only reason. Like, I come in peace. I'm sorry, but my sister died, and so this is why I have to do it. And I thought to myself, my God, no wonder they're gang stalking me. And I've seen people gang stalk with like fear in their face, terror in their eyes. These ones, I gotta just like, I gotta let it go. So it like would come to a point where it's like, there was a certain point where just for certain people, not for everybody, for certain people, it's just like, I would let it go. There were gang stalkers that didn't want to do it, and they would even want to be helpful. Like, it's like if something fell from my bag, they would run and pick it up and stuff. It's like, I can't be mad at these people. I cannot, my heart breaks for them, if anything. And it's like, I get it. There's so many things that, words they could tell me, they could have told me, well, these are innocent people. I'd be like, how can they be innocent? They're horrible, they're evil. But when you feel it, when you see it, when you experience it, then you're like, oh, okay, you're right. You are right. This is a trying thing. I cannot take credit for being that mature that I just see people who are doing horrible things in a compassionate light. It's because God has shown me, it gives me no choice. It gives me no choice. I just want to say, as you go through this, we are all going through terrible things, heartbreaking things. And if you're on the side where God's trying to get your attention, teach you a lesson, it's a lesson. Go through it as a lesson. Take the heartbreak as a lesson. Don't take it as more than that. Don't look at it from that perspective, because that's the point that's been trying to, it's a lesson. Heartbreaking lesson. Don't deflect. Take accountability. I used to think I was accountable. This situation has shown me like accountability is hard. There are times where they sit me down and they lecture me and they tell me all the things that I need to do better. And I used to want to make excuses, but this happened and they did this to me, and they're like, no excuses. Listen, And now I can't say anything when they talk to me. I'm just like, okay, I deserve it. Accountability takes work. It's a process to get there, to that accountability. It's a process. It takes hearing things you don't want to hear. And we will always have an excuse for why. But we got to sit down with it. We got to learn the lesson. We got to just try to be better next time. Forgiving yourself is the hardest part. Forgiving others, you think forgiving others is hard. Forgiving yourself is the hardest part. You letting it go, because sometimes God lets it go. Sometimes other people have already let it go. But you forgiving yourself, that's the tough part. Beating down on yourself, that's going to be hard. If things are being ripped out of your life, let it go with ease and with grace. Gracefully walk away. Let me tell you, it's going to rip through you. It's going to continue ripping through you. And there's nothing we can do. Easier to release. There's this quote, it says, let go or get dragged. Think of yourself behind a car holding onto a rope. You're going to have no skin left when you're done. You're going to be a bloody mess, skin and bones. Gotta release. God's not that hard to understand if you ask God for the answers. And if you ask God, please show me, explain to me, but we don't do that. Ask God to show you. Ask God to explain to you. When it's time to learn, it's time to learn. Trust me. The reason that I'm like this, I don't like learning. Not like that. My best way of learning is watching others. I want to see other people go through things and be like, yep, I'm never doing that. Yep, I'm never doing that. That's my way of learning. I don't want to experience anything. Lessons are too hard. Too hard to come back from. When they say, don't do this, don't do that, don't touch. Is it easy? No. What? I fail all the time at stuff like that. Don't do this, don't do that. I fail all the time. I lose my cool, and then I have to apologize. I gotta go back in the spirit, because I know I gotta try harder. I gotta do better. We all are going to make mistakes on this journey. Don't think you're gonna get out of making mistakes. When you walk your spiritual path, you're gonna disappoint yourself. I'm not saying you're gonna disappoint God, because God already sees the mistake coming. They know what you're gonna do. But you got to learn to forgive yourself. And the relationship with God is not one where, thankfully, the relationship with God is not one where you have to be a certain thing to earn the love. That's how human relationships are, where it's like, you got to be rich for me to love you. You got to be, 6 foot tall. You got to be beautiful. You got to be, all these things. The relationship with God is not, you have to be perfect or we're going to discard you. It's just that if you don't do this, you're going to have to go through that. Not because I want you to, but that is the consequence of this action. That is the consequence of going this far. So you must understand, you got to stop yourself from experiencing things by just not trying to experience it. You got to find a way to just stop yourself before it's too late. When God says things, it's not a joke. I know, because they're so patient. It's like somebody giving you 365 days to learn a lesson and you're at day 265. You think like, yeah, I have 100 more days to go, to just like take it as a joke. But the thing is, we just never know the day that God's going to be serious and you're going to feel it. You just don't know the day. There are consequences to these actions. And God has even said to me too, with great power comes great responsibility. So take an example of what's going on here. None of us are above. One of the first things that I'm glad that I took as a lesson, I don't know if they intentionally meant to teach it or if it just came to me or however, but I took that lesson, was humility. I've been called arrogant. I'm far from, trust me. As much as the way God loves you makes you feel like you're an only child, like you're God's top priority and only priority, even though we logically know that's not true. But the love is so deep and so full and so rich. But it is important to know that none of us is above spiritual law. We cannot think that we are above anybody just because. That's why I don't put spiritual gifts on a pedestal. You can have spiritual gifts and think you have the most favor, and sometimes God favors someone with not one gift. It doesn't matter. Really, it comes down to your heart. This is the thing we got to constantly keep healing, this little worn out, beat up thing that we end up with. You got to constantly heal this thing, groom yourself, and do better every single day. I constantly have to try to reset myself. My job is a very difficult one. People like myself have a very difficult job because we enable people to experience themselves. And it's not always a fun position. It's like the police, probably how they feel. Like they have a job to do, but they're not very liked. And it's like, but they're helping people. They're here to save people. Some of us, that's what we are. We're like walking karma. And, you know, hard, hard job, hard job, hard job. Nothing glamorous about it. Not nothing glamorous about it, but you're happy that you can be of service to God, but the energies that you have to experience, you gotta heal constantly. It's like you need trauma, like therapy and stuff. Like I'm just like, I need therapy. Thank God God is healing. Thank God God is love and God can heal with love. But man, I don't know what to say. I'm not even gonna lie. I do not know what to say. This is a hard, it's not always an easy position to go through because you got to go through a lot. This is not a situation where, like I said, our Holy Mother, we call her Holy Death, but she does not come here to kill or take people's lives. She could have just been taking lives left and right. She does not need help. She doesn't need a person to do it. She doesn't need anything. She comes here to close out cycles. She comes here to put an end to situations. She comes here to close things that are impossible to do any other way. This situation is impossible. You guys just don't understand what is going on spiritually. You don't understand what's going on spiritually. That's why you think. You understand the kind of portals these people opened. If you understand what these people did to enslave people, why people truly cannot leave. If you understood, if you truly understood, if people actually knew, why do you think they're beating this channel down? They don't want anybody to watch it. If people truly knew how bad this was, only God can do this. This is a delicate like a bomb. This is delicate situation that only God can manage. This is a situation that it's like they gotta have all hands everywhere at the same time all the time. So just keep things calm. That's why I say to people in the energy, don't touch anything, don't fix anything, don't revenge, don't do anything. Because once the energy gets serious and they say don't do it at 12 and you do it at 12:01, I swear to God they're being serious. They're not joking. It's not a joke. God is not our mate. It's, the best way to describe God is like, yeah, God is like, yeah, it's like your mother, but like a queen mother. You know how there's still protocol like that? Like there's still like, you still gotta bow, you still gotta be respectful. Like it's not like the kind of mother where people just go and they're like disrespectful and neglectful. There's still protocol, if you will. God is not just like, you can't like to be disrespectful and stuff. Like just because God is so gracious to come to our level does not mean that we can just pass our place. You got to always remember that. Be always humble. Don't, God will beg you, because when they're done, they're like, when you've exhausted all your rope, this is what it comes down to. This is not a joke. There are real consequences here. People are suffering real life consequences. People are feeling the squeeze. So I'm going to end it with saying, we all here have suffered. Myself, a lot. Others here, a lot. A lot of us have suffered losing lives. People whose lives have been lost. And so I'm going to say, in everything that I've gone through, I haven't blamed God, because I've seen people that I've seen what's happening, thankfully. If you don't have God close to you, and you don't see God with you, and you don't feel the presence with you, and you don't believe that it's with you all the time, you will end up blaming God, because you'll be like, how can this be so bad? How comes God's not here to help, and all of that? We can have that. We can all have that close bond. That's not just relegated to one or two people. The more you talk to an energy, the stronger the energy gets with you. The more you pay attention to them, the more you connect to them, is the stronger they get, until one day, yeah, you will, I'm not saying you're gonna hear a voice or see them, but you might. You never know. You never know, but you'll feel them. You'll see their work in your life. You'll be very, very positive that they're there, because they'll show themselves to you in that way. So just please know, when you're going through things that you feel are suffering, do not blame God. It's not God. Sometimes a lesson needs to be learned. Sometimes you need attention. God needs your attention. Be strong in whatever losses that you're taking. Be strong in a journey that feels like it's never going to end. It will end as long as you walk through it with God. Find God. Have the conversations with God directly. Don't bother with, have the conversation with God directly, one-to-one. That's been my thing. If you think that God is not there, God is there. I don't know. I can't guarantee anybody God will listen. I can't guarantee anybody, everybody's situation is different, but I say to everybody, go to God directly. We don't need intermediaries. God wants to hear from you directly. It's a personal journey. The spiritual journey is a personal journey. And especially when you're in pain and you're suffering and you're struggling, you gotta go direct. I don't think anybody needs to, go. Maybe sometimes you can go through people because maybe you don't have God's ear. So sometimes it's like you might need somebody else to pray for you, and then God hears it. But just know, regardless of how long the prayer takes, regardless of how long your prayers take, I want to promise you that prayers are answered. That's the truth. That I can tell you. How long? Different story. How many curveballs you might have to go through? Different story. Is it going to look the way that you want to? Highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. It's going to look different. When God tells you what your journey is, you might feel defeated and exhausted just from hearing what you got to do and what you got to go through. Trust your process. It is not, I can't tell anybody how long it's going to take. But everything here is for your highest good. Everything here is for a purpose. I want to invite people to meet my mother, yourself. Your mother, who you just don't know. You just haven't formally met yet. That is the purpose of everything that we go through. Those of us who have been abused, those of us who've felt neglected, those of us who don't believe in God, I promise you, meeting God for the first time will convince you 100% that not only is there a God, but that it's been painful to see your suffering. When I first was atheist when I was younger and I came all the way through it, I realized, oh my God, God was there the whole time crying, watching me go through that stuff. And why was it so painful? Because I didn't know her at the time. And I went through it in what felt like it was alone, but I didn't know her at the time. So a lot of us are suffering needlessly because we don't know God. Now, I know God now, and I still suffer, but it's nowhere near the suffering that would happen if I did. If I didn't know God, I would go into 10 times more of atheists than I did when I was younger. Oh my gosh, I'd be like, no, there's no way. There's no way. But that's what they wanted. They didn't know that I had already connected with God when all of this happened. So everything they were doing was meant to show me that there's no God. The persecution's so bad. No one's helping you, etc., etc. But they didn't know that I already connected so deeply. Or maybe they knew. I don't even know. And actually they knew. They knew. They knew. They knew. They knew. But I'm going to tell you. You might think that God has punished you, that God's turned their back. They're very serious. God still wants to talk. It doesn't matter. I'm just telling you the truth. They still want to talk. They still mean it. And they do love you. If they didn't, it's because this is hard. It's too hard. You don't listen. You don't listen. But they still love you. They're trying to get your attention. A lot of the times, God's just trying to get your attention. Some of us, it's not even that we don't want to listen. We want to listen, but it's like roadblocks. It's like we keep slipping back into the same thing. It's very difficult, all of the above. God knows what leads people to be the way that they are, even though other people don't know. God sees your pain, and you got to take it to the proper altar. Not just your altar, because some people have altars here like lit to like nonsense. The altar of the Most High. And let me tell you, there are energies in the underworld that still serve God. So who are we? There are energies in the underworld that are committed to God. So who are we? We have to understand that there's more out there than just us. That God is real, that the universe is an actual energy that could appear in your house and probably is in your house and you don't know it. You just don't see them because you don't connect to them. That demons are real, that all of this stuff is real. Like, this is not a joke. Like, it is all real. That is my message. That's what I'm actually here to talk about. I've had a rough road with this channel. I would have not wanted to start this channel like this, but it's very necessary because there have been times where the communication I've had to have has been with particular people that God wants their attention. God wants them to receive a message. We all here have to learn our lessons. The thing is, when God tells me something, I try to race. People who are close to God, we try to race to try to do better. Not that we're not going to disappoint ourselves. We try to race to do better because we understand, like, God is very serious and very real and all powerful. You will not get protection from God from anything else. I don't care what you serve. It's the truth. There is no protection. Whatever you put on that altar cannot protect you. And I remember saying there's going to be events that are going to make people flip their altars over. Get rid of the altars. Get rid of the service to these energies. Get rid of these things. So that is my message for tonight. The chapter that comes to us, boy, if I get every day I open this Bible, I'm like, I don't know how these messages find me. Sometimes I'm in denial. I try to leave the chapter that my feeling is tugging me to. I try to read another one instead, and my God's like, no, you know exactly what we want you to read, so I gotta read it. Ezekiel chapter 5. It's a short one today. It says, remember, O Lord, what is come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. We are orphans and fatherless, our mothers as widows. We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. Our necks are under persecution. When they say our wood is sold unto us, you got to think about it as people that have no land. Because if you have land, you can cut your own wood and mill it and use it to build. So when they say our wood is sold, like, you got to think about it. Like, when the Bible says things that people don't understand, like, it's like that. We have drunken our water for money is basically like, anyways, I'm going to leave that one. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. We are given the hand to the we have given the hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities, meaning that we're carrying the load of their curses. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that doth deliver us out of their hand. There's no help. We got our bread with the peril of our lives because of the sword of the wilderness. Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine. They ravished the women in Zion and the maids in the cities of Judah. Princes are hanged up by their hand. The faces of elders were not honored. This is something that means something to me when I hear the faces of elders were not honored, because I just think North America does not respect elders at all. It's something that bothers me. When I see older people gang stalking, I get disgusted. These are people that should be in their house, honored, sitting in a chair, being like spoon-fed. That's how you treat elderly people in your family. Why are they outside being abused, following people? It really upsets me. So this verse is describing this as an abomination, because it is. Children and elderly people should be off limits to nonsense. The faces of elders were not honored. They took the young men to grind, and the children fell under the wood. The elders have ceased from the gate, the young men from their music. The joy of our heart, meaning that the elders no longer come and sit outside, and young men are no longer like playing music or like, you know, singing or just basically being happy, basically. The joy of our heart is ceased. Our dance is turned into mourning. The crown is fallen from our head. Woe unto us that we have sinned. From this our heart is faint, for these things our eyes are dim. Because of the mountain of Zion, which is desolate, the foxes walk upon it. Thus, O Lord, remainest forever thy throne from generation to generation. Wherefore dost thou forget us forever and forsake us for so long? Turn thou us unto thee, O Lord, and we shall be turned. Renew our days as of old. They're basically saying, please, face me again, God, because when God turns, when I say that's my worst fear in life, is God turning their back. You think that God just is gonna punish you. What God says is, I'm gonna turn my back. The things that I've been holding back from you, I'm gonna make you see that I will remove my hand from this. And you're going to be turned over to your enemies, and you're going to see what it feels like. Worst fear. To be turned over to an enemy is worse. Because it's like, listen, if God punishes you, then you know God is loving. But when an enemy does it, it's like then they have that additional satisfaction. And that will grind you. They are asking here, turn thou us unto thee, O Lord, and we shall be turned. Renew our days as of old. Can we please go back to how it used to be? But thou hast utterly rejected us. Thou art very wroth against us. These are people begging God not to be angry anymore. These are people coming to God with sorrowful prayers, saying, these are all the things that are happening here to us, and it's unbearable. I have to keep with myself that I'm not above any, none of us are above God saying enough is enough. You need to learn. You need to listen. This is not just about saving people from being gang stalked. This is also about gang stalkers being stopped. No excuses anymore. Oh, they forced me. Oh, they this. Everybody must stand down or stand up and say, like, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting up and following people. I'm not doing that. Oh, well, they're going to persecute. Yeah, they persecute us all. We must find God. We must find prayer. That is what it boils down to. We must find God. We must find prayer. So traditionally, when you Google the Saint of Death, especially YouTube her, you're going to see only Spanish people talking about her. And then they say, well, we were going to talk about her in Spanish, but, you know, she said to talk in English. I think because the Spanish people got it right. They knew before we did. And now that the rest of us need to know who she is, because she's huge over there and it's not for no reason. There are people who didn't believe in her and they went through anguish. I remember I saw a story and there was a lady, she didn't believe in her before, and then her son got murdered, and she said, if you make things right for me, I'm going to be a champion for you. And she made things right for her. And that lady started opening up churches and ministries and everything all over the place. That's how she is. She doesn't lie. She keeps her word. You got to talk to her directly. I know that sometimes it's going to be hard to believe. You're going to wonder because the way they have to do things, sometimes they got to go around you because they know how you are. But they don't lie. They keep their word. They're very serious. They're very serious. If you can find a way to heal and bring yourself to God in your darkest moments, they will have use for you. They will bring you in. They will treat you just as anybody else. That's one thing that I've had to learn on this journey. It's not about just us who are good. It's not about us who just try our best. None of us can just be inherently good. We all have some bad to us. We all have another side. I found myself in devil energy and I'd be like, oh my God, that was just devil energy that I was in. So now I can recognize when I'm in it because I have the capacity, having a vessel, having a body, you have the capacity. So that means that people who are always in devil energy also have the capacity to be in godlike energy. You can carry that as well. You got to find your way there. None of us is perfect. We are all trying our best, doing our best. We're all trying to take this spiritual walk as best as we can. Well, not all of us. I myself, I know I'm trying to take it as best as I can. And it's been amazing to see other people that have been trying to take it and have been having moments of failure like I have. So I'm like, oh, I'm not perfect. I've felt comfort when they've been like telling people like not to swear. When Spirit's been like, stop swearing, I'm like, oh, good. They know that your situation is pushing you. They know that the persecution is shoving your back against the wall, but they still want you to hold yourself to a certain standard. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Have yourself a good night. I wish everybody healing. Something that is healing is almost as tough as the suffering. So, but it's just that you come out of it better. You also come out of, hopefully, if you do it right, you should come out of suffering a better, more evolved version. But sometimes we come out a worse version. But I do wish everybody healing here. And please do find our Holy Mother. If you're going through a hard time, give her a try. I know that some of us are Christian and it's a very scary thing because you're like, am I being led to devil worship? If I had enough time to think about it, I would have ran off. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'd be like, oh my gosh, no, this is against the Bible. I had my moments where I used to think that as well. But give her a try. If it takes getting to a very bad point where your back is against the wall, just give her a try. And just say a prayer. They are waiting. They are waiting. They want your attention for a reason. Anyway, thank you and have a good night.